Hi folks, I just want to talk to you for a few minutes today about the sequence of writing projects you have to complete for this class and the choice of topics that you have so you can begin thinking about what it is that you want to do moving forward the rest of the semester. So there are 4 writing projects for the class. They're sequenced, which means that one leads to the next. So the first writing project that you have to complete, you'll start working on next week, is the annotated bibliography. And that annotated bibliography leads to the second writing project. That's a literature review. That literature review then leads to the third writing project, which is the essay. And then the final project for the class is just a response. So the 3 options that I've given you for choosing a topic, the first option is that you can choose to write about Sasquatch or ghosts, hauntings, other sort of supernatural, paranormal phenomena, or you can write about extraterrestrials, either visitation or abduction, something along those lines. And if you wanted to write about something some other cryptozoological issue, you know, if not Sasquatch, maybe a Loch Ness monster, something like that, for which there's a large body of narrative and research available, that would be fine as well. You know, just clear a topic with me if it doesn't appear on the list. So that's the first option for you, and it's a great option in terms of the research that's available to you will be very broad. So if you think about our topic of consilience, you'll have a very easy time finding the research that you need as well as the narratives. Your second option, if you don't like any of those choices, your second option would be to choose a more sort of standard narrative, something like a fairy tale or a myth or a collection of fairy tales and myths that function together as sort of a single narrative somehow. And so the example I think I give you is Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett and Paul Bunyan, sort of those collections of stories as stories of American identity. So this one's a little more broad. You can choose something from popular culture if you want. So you could choose you know, a comic book character, or you could choose a collection of movies. So I mentioned the John Hughes films of the 80s being a sort of suburban Bildungsroman, which is like a coming-of-age story. So this one's fairly broad, but you choose a more standard sort of narrative, and then you'll collect as many versions of that narrative as you possibly can for the first step of the annotated bibliography, and then you would do research just like in the first step. And I'll talk about that in more detail when I talk to you about the annotated bibliography. The third option, if you don't want to do something from that cryptozoological or paranormal supernatural collection, and you don't want to do something with a fairy tale or a myth or some element of popular culture, would be to think about consilience as it relates to you more academically and professionally. So think about what it is that you're planning on doing. And then, so let's say architecture. Let's say you want to be an architect. And what you would do then is you would look for a collection of narratives that create for society generally a popular impression of architects, what it means to be an architect or to work in architecture. And then you would conduct research on that profession, on architecture. You would look at the recent scholarship published in architecture, and you would look for evidence of consilience there. So what are architects, people writing about architecture, bringing in from other professions? So those are your sort of 3 choices, and you'll want to choose from one of those topics, one of those categories, and then choose something more specific. And you know, at this point, you've got about a week or so to choose something. And what I'll talk to you in another video about the annotated bibliography and explain to you more of how to put that together and what that research looks like, and maybe that'll help you determine what you want to do. But if any of those topics sound really interesting to you, you can feel free to go ahead and choose one and begin to think about how it's going to come together for you. And if you have something that you're not sure if it totally fits, but you really, really want to work with it, feel free to email me about that. Just remember what we've been talking about with class and whether or not it would be an appropriate topic.